What would you do if you caught one of your employees doing something personal at 2 a.m.? Fire them? Reprimand them? One powerful woman faced that very choice, and the decision she made didn't just change one man's life, it changed an entire empire. Our story begins where glittering skyscrapers meet the shadows, 2 in the morning, basement level B3 of one of the world's leading financial corporations. Down here, it's another world, a concrete labyrinth lying beneath wealth and power. The air is thick, carrying the smell of dampness and an unsettling silence. Flickering fluorescent lights cast long, distorted shadows of concrete pillars across the floor, like silent giants guarding a secret. This is the kingdom of machines, Rolls-Royces, Bentleys, Ferraris. They sit motionless, polished to perfection, each worth millions, yet nothing more than lifeless shells in the night. Symbols of success, yes, but also symbols of emptiness once the city has fallen asleep. And in that dead stillness, a single sound cuts through, sharp and deliberate. Click. Clack, click, clack, the echo of high heels, a woman's heels. She does not belong here, not at this hour. She belongs up there in the world of numbers, contracts, and million-dollar decisions. But tonight, she isn't wearing her armor of a tailored power suit, just a simple business outfit, as if she were any ordinary person searching for the exit. But she isn't searching for the exit. She is searching for the truth. This is her secret ritual. Once every quarter, she walks her empire alone at midnight. No warning, no entourage. She wants to feel its true heartbeat, to know how the giant machine functions when the boss's eyes aren't watching. She believes the true character of an organization only reveals itself in the dark. She has walked past empty office corridors where screens still glow faintly in standby. She has walked past the silent cafeteria, long rid of the morning's coffee. Scent. Everything was just as she expected. Orderly, spotless, lifeless. But when she reached B3, a strange instinct stirred inside her. The silence here was heavier. Walking between rows of luxury cars felt like walking through a graveyard of wealth. Then, she stopped. The sharp eyes of a leader, trained to detect the slightest market anomaly, spotted something that didn't belong. A light. Not the cold flicker of fluorescence. A faint, warm circle of light glowed in a corner, near the security station by the elevators. At this hour, in this place, any light was suspicious. Any presence was a question mark. Her heartbeat quickened. Instinct told her to be cautious. She stepped back quietly, hiding behind the glossy frame of a black Mercedes. From there, she could observe unseen. Holding her breath, she edged closer, bracing herself for the worst. A guard asleep at his post? An intruder disabling security systems? Or something even worse? But the truth she was about to witness would be far more shocking than anything she could imagine. Because beneath that dim glow, her night shift security guard wasn't sleeping. He wasn't neglecting his duty. He was doing something no job description could ever allow. Something that could cost him his job instantly. And yet, that very act was about to turn him from a faceless employee into the man holding the key to the company's entire future. Rose Thorne, the owner of the entire building, held her breath as she watched from behind a cold concrete pillar. She had braced herself for a violation of discipline, but what appeared before her eyes was not misconduct. It was something simple, yet extraordinary. The warm glow came from a small flashlight carefully placed on the ground, and within that fragile circle of light sat a young man in a security uniform. He was perched on a rough concrete ledge, back against the freezing wall, knees drawn up to support a notebook. He had no idea she was there. His world, at that moment, existed entirely within the halo of that flashlight. Rose narrowed her eyes, trying to see more clearly. The young man wasn't dozing. His eyes were locked on the thick pages of a textbook, while his hand moved steadily across the notebook, writing with careful, deliberate strokes. It was total focus, an intensity Rose usually saw only in her top traders during high-stakes market sessions or in her lawyers when preparing for a critical lawsuit. But this wasn't Wall Street. This was a damp parking garage, and the person in front of her wasn't an industry expert. He was the night shift security guard. She glanced at the small stack of books neatly arranged beside him. Even from a distance, She recognized the titles: Principles of Corporate Finance, Advanced Microeconomics, Global Business Strategy. These weren't light novels to pass the time. They were dense, heavy university textbooks. This was not leisure. This was labor. A silent war against circumstance, unfolding beneath the foundation of her empire. A strange feeling crept into Rose's chest. Suspicion melted away, replaced first by astonishment, then gradually by respect. Think about it. Upstairs on the 35th floor, she had hundreds of elite employees, graduates from the most prestigious universities. They worked in sleek offices with air conditioning, ergonomic chairs, and top-tier computers. Every condition for growth was handed to them. But here, in the deepest basement, in the chill of concrete and the solitude of night, a young man was building his future with nothing but a flashlight and sheer determination. He was studying the very knowledge her employees were paid to apply, yet he was doing it in stolen moments, on his own time, under the harshest conditions. The contrast hit her like a blow. Maybe she had been searching for talent in the wrong places. Maybe she had been blinded by polished resumes and rehearsed interviews. Perhaps real talent, the raw diamond, uncut and undiscovered, was hidden in places she least expected. Rose stayed in the shadows a few minutes longer, observing. She noticed the way his brows furrowed when a concept was difficult. She noticed how he underlined key points with a pencil, carefully marking the page. Every gesture radiated seriousness, passion, hunger. This wasn't someone just trying to pass a course. This was someone fighting to master knowledge. For the first time in years, Rose felt moved, not by a multi-million-dollar deal, but by the quiet persistence of an employee whose name she didn't even know. After several minutes of silent observation, Rose made her decision. She stepped out from the shadows. She knew she couldn't stand there forever. The confrontation was about to happen, and she understood the weight of this moment. A single word from her could snuff out that fragile flame of hope, or ignite it into a blazing fire. Would the young security guard be reprimanded, or something else entirely? Stay with us. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next chapter of this story. Thank you. And now let's continue. Rose drew a deep breath and stepped out from the shadow of the concrete pillar. She made sure her heels clicked softly against the floor, a subtle signal, so the young man wouldn't be startled out of his skin. But she had underestimated his focus. "Excuse me," she said, keeping her voice gentle, almost calm. One word, but in the silence, it cracked like thunder. The security guard jolted. His head snapped up, his eyes wide with shock and fear, like a deer caught in the headlights. He blinked rapidly, trying to make out the figure standing in front of him under the dim light. Then instinct took over. Not the instinct of a trained guard facing danger, but of someone caught red-handed, someone afraid of being exposed. He fumbled, snapping the book shut, scrambling to gather his notebook and pencil as though they were incriminating evidence. He leapt to his feet, posture rigid, equal parts respect and panic. I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't think anyone would be down here. I'll clean this up right away." His voice trembled slightly. He didn't know who Rose was, but her poised demeanor and the quiet authority in her presence told him she was someone important. And in his mind, the worst-case scenario was already playing out. Caught doing personal work on the job, written up, reprimanded, or worse, fired. Seeing the panic in his eyes, Rose raised a hand. Not just to stop him, but to calm him. No, it's fine. You don't need to put anything away. I'm Rose from the executive offices upstairs. I was working late and happened to pass by. What's your name? He was still unsettled, but he straightened his back, hands clasped tightly behind him in proper form. Yes, ma'am. My name is Miles Beck. I work the night shift here. I was just using a little free time to review my coursework. But I assure you, I'm still monitoring the security cameras on the tablet. He even pointed to the device sitting close by, its screen still glowing with the feeds from 4 different angles. Rose smiled. A genuine smile. Miles, please. You have nothing to apologize for. I'm not upset. Quite the opposite, actually. I'm impressed. What are you studying? Her question, paired with her kind tone, seemed to ease Miles's defenses. He glanced at his small stack of books, then back at her, a flicker of pride softening his nervousness. Ma'am, I'm working toward my MBA. I take classes during the day and work here at night to pay tuition and to support my family. Rose's eyes swept over his improvised study station again. Up close, the deprivation was even clearer. She asked a question whose answer was already obvious. Miles, why here? Why study in this cold, dim garage? Wouldn't the security office upstairs be far more comfortable? Miles looked slightly embarrassed. He scratched his head, a gesture disarmingly human. Well, ma'am, the security office upstairs is directly linked to the main control desk. Regulations forbid us from doing personal work while on duty. I don't want to risk a warning or cause trouble. Down here, I can still keep an eye on the main garage entrance, and I'm not breaking any rules. This way, it's safer for my job. Hearing his reasoning, Rose was moved. He wasn't just hardworking. He carried an extraordinary sense of integrity and self-respect. He chose discomfort over compromise. He would rather freeze in a garage with a flashlight than bend a simple company rule. To Rose, that quality was more precious than gold. But one question still hung in the air. All this sacrifice, these sleepless nights, these hours of study in the cold, what was it all for? She looked straight into his eyes, the eyes of a leader searching for vision. Miles, she asked, what do you hope to do with that MBA? And Miles's answer, the words pulled from the depths of his heart, would shake the foundations of Rose's world. Rose's question was like a key, unlocking a door Miles had kept shut for a very long time. In an instant, all the hesitation and nervousness on his face melted away. The weary night shift guard faded into the background, and in his place stood someone entirely different. His eyes lit up. It wasn't the reflection of a flashlight. It was something from within, a fire of passion blazing to life. Rose had seen that same fire before, in the eyes of great founders just before they changed. The world, Mrs. Sterling, Miles began. For the first time, his voice no longer trembled. It was steady, clear, carrying the weight of conviction. My dream is to start my own financial consulting firm. He paused, gathering every ounce of courage for what mattered most. But it won't be a firm for people who already have millions in the bank. I want to build a company that serves working families, people like my parents, my neighbors, my childhood friends. He glanced around the garage, then back at Rose. His voice grew more earnest. I grew up in a home where the word money meant stress. It meant stacks of unpaid bills spread across the kitchen table at the end of the month. It meant hushed arguments between my parents over the water bill, the electric bill. My parents are amazing people. They work themselves to the bone. Sunrise tonight, never once complaining. But no one, not once, ever showed them a way out of that cycle. No one taught them about saving, about investing, about how to make money work for them. All they knew was how to work for money, and then watch it slip away to pay off debt. As he spoke, Rose no longer saw an employee reporting to a superior. She saw a boy watching his family struggle. She saw a young man forging a vow to change the course of his destiny. Miles continued, his voice full of emotion but never self-pitying. When I grew older and started to learn on my own, I discovered an entire world of knowledge that could have changed their lives. But that world seemed built for the wealthy, complicated, intimidating, full of jargon the average person could never understand. I want to tear down that barrier, Mrs. Sterling. I want to bring financial wisdom to the people who need it most, in a way that's simple, relatable, and compassionate. I want to help families plan for their children's future, buy their first home, or simply find peace of mind as they grow old. He finished. His breath was unsteady, heavy with emotion. He had poured everything out, his heart, his mission, to a stranger, a superior he had just met for the first time. The realization struck him, and a flicker of embarrassment crossed his face as he waited for Rose's reaction. Rose stood frozen, overwhelmed. This wasn't some naive fantasy. This was a mission. A business plan rooted in empathy and higher purpose. Miles wasn't chasing wealth. He was aiming to heal the financial wounds of an entire generation. Before her stood not a night shift guard, but a future leader with a great heart, someone with both vision and compassion strong enough to build something truly meaningful. In that cold garage, surrounded by lifeless luxury cars, a bold decision crystallized in her mind. A wild idea, yet utterly clear. An offer was about to be made. An offer that existed in no HR manual, an investment not in numbers, but in the character of a man. For a long, suspended moment, silence was the only response to Miles's confession. His nerves began to creep back in. Maybe he had said too much. Maybe his dream had sounded naive, unrealistic. He lowered his head, bracing for a polite word of encouragement before this powerful woman would walk away, leaving him to return to his reality. But Rose didn't walk away. She was calculating, but not profits and risks. She was calculating human potential. She studied the young man standing before her, someone bold enough to dream big in such a small, narrow space. She thought of the dozens of candidates she had interviewed, brilliant resumes, flawless credentials, people who had everything except the fire she had just witnessed in Miles's eyes. And in that moment, she made her decision. "Miles," she said. Her voice was firm now, not the voice of a passerby, but the voice of a CEO making a strategic choice. "I have an offer for you." Miles's head snapped up, his face full of confusion. "An offer?" "That's right," Rose replied, her gaze steady and commanding, yet carrying an unusual warmth of belief. "How would you feel about moving into a different role within my company? A paid internship in the financial planning division? You'd work during the day, learn directly from some of the best professionals in the field, and still continue your classes at night. The position comes with a significant salary increase, and more importantly, the company would cover the remainder of your tuition." Her words landed like an explosion in Miles's mind. He stared at her, mouth slightly open, struggling to process what he had just heard. He shook his head faintly, a bittersweet smile tugging at his lips. Surely this had to be a joke. Or worse, pity. Mrs. Sterling, I don't even know what to say. I'm grateful, truly. But that's impossible. I'm not qualified for any finance role. My resume? It's just security work. I'm just a guard trying to study my way up. The self-doubt in his voice was almost tangible, an invisible wall that had held back countless talented people like him. But Rose had anticipated this. She smiled, the smile of a mentor who had already seen beyond the wall. She stepped closer, narrowing the distance between a CEO and a night guard. "Miles, listen to me," she said. Her voice was sharp, deliberate, each word like a hammer striking down on his doubts. "You are not just a guard. You are a father working nights to provide for your family. You are a graduate student grinding through obstacles to pursue knowledge. You are someone who chooses to study under a flashlight in a freezing garage because you refuse to accept the fate handed to you." She paused, letting every word sink deep into his heart. Those qualities, determination, discipline, integrity, and a clear vision to serve others are worth more than any bullet point on a resume. Experience we can train, skills we can teach. But character, Miles, character cannot be manufactured. I can teach you how to analyze a portfolio. What I cannot teach is a heart that truly cares for people, and you already have that. Miles stood frozen, stunned. Something warm began to rise in his chest, pushing away the cold of the garage, melting the doubts that had weighed him down for years. Rose placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture not just of encouragement, but of commitment. "I'm not giving you charity, Miles. I'm making an investment. And I believe this will be the most valuable investment my company has ever made. Now, go home and rest." Then, with resolute finality, she declared, "Next week your life begins a new chapter." The offer had been made, trust had been given, but the question remained, Would this rough diamond discovered in the shadows truly shine under the harsh spotlight of the financial world? The real test was only just beginning. And so a new chapter in Miles's life began. Not with a miracle, but with sweat, tears, and nearly sleepless nights. He traded in his security guard uniform for his very first business suits, paid for with the salary from his new position. He exchanged the cold, dim garage for an office on the 35th floor, where the city stretched endlessly beneath his feet, a view he had once only dared to dream about. The first weeks were brutal. Miles felt like a dry sponge thrown into an ocean of knowledge. He was overwhelmed by complex financial jargon, endless charts filled with numbers, and the dizzying pace of the financial world. At times, he felt like an intruder, a mistake in the system. His old insecurities crept back in, gnawing away at his fragile confidence. But then he remembered why he had started. He remembered his family. He remembered his dream. And the iron will forged in the freezing garage reawakened. Miles threw himself into the work with a relentless hunger to learn. He was the first to arrive at the office and the last to leave. He read every document, asked every question. Never afraid of sounding foolish. He took notes more meticulously than anyone else because he knew exactly how rare and precious this opportunity was. At first, his colleagues looked at him with curiosity and even skepticism. But over time, their glances turned into respect, then admiration, for the tireless determination of the rookie. And when Miles began meeting clients, his true secret weapon finally revealed itself. It wasn't advanced analytical skills or slick sales tactics. His weapon was empathy. When a working-class couple came in, anxious about their meager retirement savings, Miles didn't talk to them about the S&P 500 or bond yields. Instead, he spoke about the feeling of security, about being able to sit with their grandchildren one day, free of financial worries. He broke down the most complex concepts with simple stories and real-life examples. Most importantly, he listened truly. Listened in a way they had never experienced at any financial institution before. To Miles, clients weren't numbers on a spreadsheet. They were stories, dreams, fears. And it was this genuine connection that worked miracles. Word of Miles Beck began to spread, not through advertising, but through the voices of grateful clients. He became a phenomenon, the rising star of Sterling Financial. 18 months flew by in the blink of an eye. Miles not only completed his MBA with excellence, but also surpassed Rose's highest expectations. He proposed and successfully launched a brand new division, Community Financial Services, dedicated to serving middle-income clients. And he, the former security guard, was now its director, leading a team he had handpicked himself. 2 years had passed since that fateful night in the garage. At the grand annual gala of Sterling Financial, the ballroom glittered with crystal, lights filled with the brightest financial minds in the city. Glasses clinked, conversations buzzed, laughter echoed. At a table near the stage, Miles sat, not the timid man he once was, but confident, poised. Dressed in an elegant suit, with his devoted wife at his side and his little daughter in a princess dress sitting on his lap, his smile radiated pride and happiness. Then, the spotlights dimmed, and all beams converged on a single figure walking toward the stage, Rose Thorne. She approached the podium to announce the evening's most prestigious award, Employee of the Year. Her eyes swept across the room, warm and proud. Taking the microphone, she began, not with statistics or titles, but with a story. 2 years ago, late one night, in the parking garage of this very building, I found one of our employees studying under the beam of a flashlight. The ballroom fell silent. The ballroom fell utterly silent. Every eye turned toward Rose, trying to grasp the meaning behind her words. She continued, her voice clear and resonant. That employee was pursuing an MBA while working night shifts to provide for his family. What impressed me wasn't just his dedication to learning. It was his vision, to use that knowledge to help others build better lives. Her gaze swept across the hall and stopped at Miles's table. That employee reminded me of something. Far more important, something we often forget in the relentless pace of business. The greatest assets of a company are not found on balance sheets. They live in the hearts and wills of the people who work for it. Miles has taught us all that true success is not measured by how much we earn, but by how many people we lift up. A radiant smile spread across her face. It is my honor to announce this year's Employee of the Year, Director Miles Beck. The ballroom erupted, not with polite applause, but with thunderous, heartfelt admiration. Eyes brimming with tears, Miles embraced his wife. He lifted his sleepy little daughter into his arms and walked with her onto the stage. Accepting the prestigious trophy from Rose, he turned to the audience, one arm holding the award, the other cradling his daughter tightly. "Thank you," he began, his voice trembling with emotion. 3 years ago, I was a security guard with a dream I thought was impossible. I believed the road toward it would be long and lonely, in the dark. He looked at Rose, his eyes overflowing with gratitude. But then I met Mrs. Sterling. She didn't just give me a job. She gave me a chance. She gave me faith in myself, at a time when I had none. She taught me that sometimes, the most important light isn't the one shining on the pages of the book you're reading, but the light someone else gives you, so you can see the road ahead. He lowered his head, kissing the hair of his little girl resting on his shoulder. She taught me that the brightest light doesn't always come from chandeliers glittering above, but from a single small flashlight in the dark, lit by determination and dreams. After the ceremony, when the stage lights had dimmed and the crowd had gone home, Rose descended alone into the parking garage. But she didn't walk toward her car. She walked to the far corner near the elevator, the place where it had all begun. It was no longer the same. At her instruction, the corner was now lit brightly, furnished with a small desk and a comfortable chair, as a quiet reminder that ambition and growth would always be welcomed anywhere in the company. Rose stood in the very spot where Miles had once sat, chasing his dream under the harshest conditions. And she realized that the chance encounter had not only changed Miles's life, it had changed hers. It had redefined her entire philosophy of leadership. She understood now that the most important discoveries in business are not hidden in market reports or spreadsheets. They are found in recognizing the hidden potential of people. That night, she understood the truth. Miles's flashlight had not only illuminated the pages of his textbook, it had illuminated a path for her. Because the greatest leaders are not the ones who stand in the brightest places. They are the ones willing to step into the darkness, to seek out those who carry light within them, and give them the chance to truly shine. Miles and Rose's story reminds us that extraordinary talent and resilience can be found in the most unexpected places, and sometimes all it takes is one person's belief, one opportunity given, to change an entire life. We believe there are countless stories like this out there. Have you ever met someone like Miles? Or maybe you yourself are quietly fighting your own battles under your own spotlight? Share your story or the story of someone who has inspired you in the comments below. Let's spread stories of kindness and determination so we all remember, no one walks this journey alone. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit like and share this video with someone you love. Every share is a spark of hope. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next meaningful story. Thank you for listening.